Hey guys, it's Hawk here. Third video today. Man, you guys have been really wanting critiques, so I'm trying to get them out as quick as possible. So, as you already know how this goes. I do this by color selection, shading, highlight, neatness, line work, anatomy, style, extra, and things that I like, dislike, and think they can improve. So, yeah, no specific order. Today, the deviant we shall be reviewing is Commander Katelyn. She asked me to review a few of her artworks, or her art in general, and was fine with me making a video. So, yeah. So, the first piece I'm going to be reviewing is Mew and Mewtwo, which seems to be a humanized Pokemon piece. Now, off the bat, I can say this. I do like the color selection. You did a good job with that. Nothing seems too bright or too much of a pure pigment. I do like that. However, I think the anatomy in the face could use some work, especially on Mew here, as she, I don't know what gender this thing really is, but it just seems kind of squished together and something seems off. Perhaps some shading or a bit more of like a definition like over here might look better. Or just making like the face a bit more visible would also be nice. And I also think the anatomy could use a little work. Perhaps in the leg region, because for legs, it kind of like arms, it kind of goes smaller here. There's an ankle, and then you have your feet. But this just kind of seems like you kind of drew like this. I mean, it's a good piece. This piece is good. However, the anatomy could use some work there, and yeah. And I can't really say much on the arms. Perhaps make them a bit going out like this, and so it looks a bit more natural and a bit less stiff. Nice color choice though, and maybe the face could use a little work. Perhaps like this, making the eyes a little bigger. This is probably, and maybe just move everything a bit lower. That would look nice. For this Mewtwo, very nice color selection. I will say that with this, again, like the arms and legs, there seems to be like, although this is like puffed out pants, you can't really tell where the knee would be. And I also think that you should, again, here work on the foot anatomy, perhaps. Just so it looks more natural, like how a human would be. And for the arms, same thing, just kind of make it so that you know where the elbow is. And for the face, I might add like a little fold, because when people's eyes are half closed like this, they have a little fold in their eye, and perhaps have eyebrows for motion, so he looks kind of calm, maybe slightly annoyed. Something like that might work out nice, and the nose could be a little farther up, and the mouth could be here, so it looks a little bit more natural. As for the ear, I think you could do this. So for head shape, I do like what you're thinking about doing, but when people have heads, I notice the top part up here seems to kind of stick out like this on a lot of people here for the jaw. And I can tell you tried to do that, but this is what I think you could do for that in the anatomy. As for over here, there's always like a little fold of skin that does that in the arms. And I think when you draw humans in the future, you could probably add more detail. You could, unless this is your style, you could probably add some shading too. Overall, this piece is pretty nice. There's just some things you could work on, and you have a pretty good color selection. The next one is this piece, a picture of Frisk. This is known as, well, Frisk by Commander Caitlin. Right off the bat, I like the idea of this with her soul kind of glowing out, and I can notice something that the line work, unless this is the style, seems to be a bit messy. Um, Perhaps you could get like a sketch layer and just do what you have for the sketch. as messy as you want, and maybe for like if you want like better lines, you could have your correction setting at at a higher setting when you do like the layer for line work, because that would turn out a lot neater and smoother, and you could just erase with whatever. Now, I don't know if you'll use a tablet or like as in like Android or Apple or a computer, but if you use a computer, it's the program Fire Alpaca is free and it's really nice, and you can get some pretty nice things on there. And as for tablet, I would recommend Ibis Paint X because I use that, and for my opal piece, which is right here, I did that on there with my finger on Ibis Paint X, and you can get some really nice correction lines and all that. And it's both, they're both free, and you can get as many layers as you want. It's just good. You should do that. As for the clothing, I noticed you used a bit more pure pigments, or pigments, I need to stop saying that, pure colors here. It kind of draws there, and I think you probably should have used a bit less saturated colors for the clothing when you draw characters like this in the future. Now, I do like how you use the purple, but I think these two would have gone together a little bit better, as they're less saturated. As for this, that is fine too. The skin, the hair is nice. The skin, I'm fine with being a bit more saturated because you can be drawn to it, and I like how this isn't overly saturated. This here is not overly saturated. So, good job. Overall, I do like this piece. However, I feel like you could have neatened up the line work a bit, and perhaps you could have added like an extra little bit where the fingers could have been. Just so to imply more fingers like this, even though hands are hard, you could have done that. Overall, it's pretty nice. Just perhaps work on neatening up your line work, and for clothing, using a bit less of a saturated color. It's fine to use saturation to where you want the viewer to be looking at the most. That's where you should use your most saturated colors. However, elsewhere, you should have less saturated colors, as the eyes need room to rest. The next one is this Steven Universe OC. I assume it's her OC. Yep, I think so. It's Zychron by Commander Katelyn. Now, this is a really cute looking Steven Universe OC. It's like a mermaid, I've noticed. So for the hair, I noticed you use a bit of a pure color here. It seems to be pretty nice, and the line work seems to be really solid, and I overall really like the anatomy. However, you could probably, unless this is your style, of course, maybe like put in the hands like more fingers like this, and perhaps with the hand maybe make a little more definition like this, just to kind of show, oh, there's like a wrist and stuff like that. As for the lighter colors, I noticed that you used a bit more of a pure pigment. However, pure pigment. I'm just gonna call it that, okay? You guys are all gonna get annoyed, but whatever. I think it's fine what you did over here. However, I do think that perhaps you could have used a slightly less saturated color for your light colors here, just like this, or if you wanted a lighter color like this. They're both fairly light, and down here I noticed a lot of people, it's not just you, tend to use for lighter colors really saturated, like up here, and perhaps you could use something that's still pretty light but less saturated so your eyes have more room to rest. However, I think you did a pretty solid job. The style's pretty good. I just say you could probably add a slight bit of shading, a little bit of highlight, and yeah. And maybe work on a little bit of the hands and just a little bit of the color selection. However, overall I say it's pretty solid, and the background seems to be nice. However, I think there could be a little more to it. Just, perhaps since there's a wave, there could be the sky and the sun or something. However, it's your choice with your art. Overall, I'd say for your art is pretty solid so far. I like it. I like your style. I feel that you could probably work on your facial anatomy and maybe your body anatomy a bit. I mean, we all can, but come on. And perhaps work on a little bit of neater coloring for pieces and styles like this, and perhaps a little bit more of a cleaner line work. Same with goes for this as well. A little bit of cleaner line work and maybe a bit of work on the facial anatomy, because for the nose it would be like this, and it would go down a bit more like that. But it's your choice, of course. And I might add a little bit of eyebrows for emotion. Of course, this is all your choice. Just perhaps for clothing, less saturated colors, and for light colors, don't always use like completely saturated unless you want the viewpoint to be there. And perhaps work on your line work a little bit, and I think you're pretty solid. Just that anatomy line work, you're good. Okay, that's my review of Commander Katelyn. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and, ask me to review your art. Bye!